Over the past 30 years, the Koanga Institute has accumulated the largest collection of heritage vegetable seeds, fruit trees and berries in New Zealand. It's also become a centre for bio-intensive gardening for home gardeners and has developed a range of courses attracting students from around the world. Bob Corker explains how he and co-founder and wife Kay Baxter began.
The origin was Kay was wanting to produce good organic fruit for our children. And we found that it was difficult to get fruit trees that grew well in Northland. Most of them had been bred in the Hawke's Bay and they didn't do well. So we looked around at some of the remaining heritage trees that were around some of the old house sites and found that they fitted the bill. They grew really well, we got good fruit off them. And as we started our collection, more and more people just came forward and gave us more. And initially the collection was a private one, but it became so big that we decided that we better start up an organisation to help save these seeds and save the fruit trees. As we found there was more interest, both in people bringing seeds forward and people wanting to gather information about them and use them, we started up teaching, we started up a wee shop that grew to a point where we're now retailing seeds all around New Zealand and fruit trees. For various reasons, we wanted to shift away from Auckland and be in a more isolated area, which suited our need to have the seeds grow in a relatively pristine environment. So we've come to Wairau and we just love it here. We've got good water. It's a beautiful place to live, so we find it relatively easy to attract people here that can come and support us. We have a lot of volunteers, we have interns and apprentices, and lots of nice flat land and easy to dig. We've got a farm around us as well. We've got livestock and we've got plans for doing other things in the future. We're in a situation now where we've probably had 50 years of industrial agriculture. And sure, there's been some amazing benefits out of that, but there's also been a lot of problems that are coming forward. And there's people all over the world now who are essentially developing ecological agriculture systems, and they're just as productive. In fact, in a lot of cases, they're more productive. It's not really an ideological battle, it's more what's the reality. So, and we have to test scientifically to find out what's happening. We know in a lot of cases, particularly say fruit and vegetables, that those soils are being demineralised, so that the produce that comes forward from them is not as healthy for us. So one of the main aspects of the Koanga Institute is to find ways that we can grow nutrient-dense food, because that's where our health sits. We're in the Institute nursery, and I'm standing in amongst some of the stool beds here. These are pears and apples that we'll be able to graft onto later on, graft or bud onto. And you can see some of our berry collection here, some of the heritage berries, some elderberries, grapes, a whole range of fruit trees. Most of the fruit trees that we hold are from the northern region. We don't hold a lot of the southern ones. We're starting to gather fruit trees from around the East Coast area, but most of these are part of the old collection that we gathered in Northland.
There's a few different types of seed and a few different processes. The seeds out of pumpkins and wet sort of fruit like tomatoes and cucumber is quite different from the dry seed we harvest that dries on the plant. We'll take different techniques, maybe using screens, which will sieve out the big sticks and dust, and we are left with the seed. That process of trampling and putting through the screens and winnowing is how we clean the seed. It's also how we select for the heaviest, most dense, biggest seed, which is what we're aiming for here to improve the seed lines. The fact that we grow all of our seed in Aotearoa, New Zealand, is a really important part of what we do. And we have a pretty detailed system of keeping track of where the seeds are grown, when they were grown, and then that allows us to plan for the next season's growing of our gardens.
Saving the seeds itself is not profitable at all. So we have to generate other activities to generate the profit, the excess, to make sure we can make things work. We sell a lot of seeds all over New Zealand. They bring in a good income. We also do workshops and sell books. So those are our main sources of income. Our main protection is we build a membership and the members support what we're doing. And that's the protection for the seeds is the membership and all the support we get through that and through donations, grants. Most of the stories of the seeds are written down. We'll be publishing books about that from time to time. We publish quite a few books, so that's a major part of our income as well. Kay's in the process of writing a book about the history of a lot of the heritage seeds, so I'm not sure when that'll be coming out, but fairly soon. The future of the Institute is coming out of what we've learnt from the seeds. The seeds have taught us about the impact of the industrial system on our whole ecology. And it's not just on the seeds, it's everything. And what we've learned further, particularly in the last few years out of the science of epigenetics, is that the environment determines the genetic expression. The challenge we have is, okay, how do we grow nutrient-dense food? How do we look after the health of ourselves and the environment? So this is an important part of what our purpose is, really, is to take the knowledge that we've gained here and get it spread out.
This program was made with funding from New Zealand On Air.